Okay, so all that stuff in the beginning, all this stuff, does everyone have one? Okay, I can grab this. This is just for your reference. You know most of these, but every now and then you come across a word, you're like, what does that mean to do? Like sometimes product, that word messes people up, so it means multiplication. So just kind of look through these at some point, or when you get stuck on, am I adding or subtracting here? What are they asking me to do? But how I really wanted to start out is by giving you these examples on the first page. There's nothing to solve, you'll notice. Like I'm not asking you how long is the garden, or if the garden is 28 feet perimeter, etc. I'm just giving you a statement. The length of a garden is 3 times the width. And so what I want us to do with these is when you read that statement, the length of the garden is 3 times the width, do we see that there are 2 things that you don't know definitively? Like you don't know what the length equals and you don't know what the width equals. And so that's what I want us to do in these problems is just identify what we consider as the unknowns. So length, width. And then the easiest thing for us to do is to solve an equation that contains one variable, right? If all of a sudden I said 3x plus 4 equals 10x plus 7y, you would not be able to solve this for x and y. If you have 2 variables in a single equation, you also need a second equation in order to solve it. Maybe some of you remember this. It's called the systems of equations. You use elimination and substitution to solve it. We're going to do that in 096. But for now, what we know how to do is solve equations that contain one variable. So I'm not going to call this L and W, so don't do that, because then I would have to write an equation that contains 2 variables. So the idea is to just use a single variable and then build off of that variable to represent the other dimension. So the fact that we know the length is 3 times the width, which one of these would I let be x, do you think?
Width.
Okay, so if we say the width is x, then how can you represent the length using x?
3x.
3x. Does everyone see that? So this is like the hardest part for, I would say, anyone, is to figure out what expressions to put for the unknowns. Yes? If you had chosen the length to be x, it's not the end of the world. The width would be 1/3 of that. That's a little more clunky. I don't ever go that route. So I will choose my x such that when I build off of it, it's an easy get. So if it had said the length is 3 more, I would have said the length is x plus 3. All on board for that? Okay, so that's all we can do because they're not giving us any more information. So that's step 1 of the problem solving process. And so I want you to do that for the next one. Identify the unknowns. And then write an expression to represent. Jacob, what are the unknowns in this problem?
The height of the pole and the height of the building.
Good. So there's 2 things that are being talked about. Height of pole, height of building. One of these I'm going to let equal x. Hannah, Skidmore, do you have an idea of which one you want to be x?
For the pole, I did 1/3 x, and for the height of the building.
Awesome. So it's saying if you knew the height of the building, the height of the pole is 1/3 of that. If you look at your chart above here, the word of falls under multiplication. So we know when we see 1/3 of, it's 1/3 times. Any confusion yet? Yes.
So
that an equation would be, like, if you make P the pole, P equals 1/3 x B.
If P was the pole,
Yeah.
the pole is equivalent to 1. Yeah, because that's what we're saying. That the building, or we just wouldn't do two different variables like that. And we can't write an equation yet, so if I had said that the sum of the pole plus the building is 50 feet, then you could write an equation that said that guy plus that guy is 50 feet, which we'll do in a second. None of these these won't have answers. Like, these are just statements. The next step is to have an entire problem where I say what is the height of the pole, what is the height of the building. Because step 2 is to write an equation. All right, so, go through next one, side of a triangle. Brennan, what are your unknowns?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, sorry. Thoughts, Caitlin, Brennan, Michael, this crew?
Yeah.
Thoughts on unknowns?
So your first side
Okay.
should be x, and then your second side is just x minus 2, and then your third side would be 3x minus 8.
So does everyone agree, first off, like those are your 3 unknowns, first, second, third side? Yeah, Montana.
I just had something about the second side.
Oh, okay. So then you went on to say that the first side was your x. So if some of you are like, well, how did he know that? If you look at all of the statements refer to the first side. It's like, da-da-da-da, of the first side, of the first side. That's your clue to say, oh, if I just knew the first side, I would know everything else. Let that be your x. Go ahead, Montana. The second side?
Wait, did you say that it'd be x minus 2? I don't know who said that, I'm sorry.
I did, and that's an error, actually, it'd be x plus 2, right?
Sweet. Thanks. And then what do we say about the third side?
3x minus 8.
3x minus 8. Awesome. It has to be 3x minus 8. It can't be 8 minus 3x. Remember, subtraction is not commutative, so you can't switch those up. And it says 8 inches shorter than whatever just happened. Again, this is one where then I would go on to say, like, the perimeter of the triangle is 40 inches. And you would then go on to write an equation and solve from there. We good? Because this is the step if you don't have when you get to an actual problem, it's just all out the window. All right. Try the next one.
Not related to this actually. It was just
Okay.
I need to turn that in. It's actually stuck in my binder.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Just talk to me after class.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Kylie, give me your thoughts when you have some. Oh, binder. This is someone's binder clip, and I just feel bad because they put it on their homework and I stole it, and it's a nice binder clip. Y'all, it's somebody's. Claim it.
Fine.
See?
You can have it.
No! I've been just saving it like I feel bad I'm stealing your clip. Here we go. These are in high demand. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're comparing the profits of the years, so it'll be 2008, 2009, 2010.
8, No, I'm not going to be lazy. Okay, keep going.
And then 2008 is going to be 4x. And then 2009 is x. And then 2010 is x plus 12y.
Agree?
No.
Oh, okay. Which part?
Oh, wait, in 2010 or backwards.
A profit in 2008 was 12,000 more. Oh, I see. So this is 4x, and this is the x plus whatever it was, 12,000. Yes? Good? Yes.
Can you write the number first plus x?
Yeah, so addition is commutative, so it doesn't matter the order. Good question. Yeah.
I know in real life you'd have to write it out on a test. Would you want us to write profit 2008, or abbreviate it as 08, 09, 10?
Yeah, I would agree. You can abbreviate. As long as, like, if someone else was looking at it, they would understand what you're saying, then I'm totally fine with that. The one that gets me is the next one. Oh, perfect. So the next one, 3 consecutive numbers. I think yes, there are 3 numbers that we don't know. Yeah. So this is what gets me is when people say 1, 2, 3, because then it looks like if you were to write 1, 2, 3, and then 1 equals x, it looks like you're saying x equals like 1 instead of x equals the first number. So go ahead and write this out. Like first, are these integers or just numbers? First number, you can abbreviate number, but just don't write 1, 2, 3. You don't have to write first consecutive. How do you suppose we would represent 3 consecutive numbers?
X plus 1, X plus 2.
Okay, so I definitely think putting the first number at x would be great. And then x plus 1, does anyone want to... And then you said x plus 2?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to ask a question on that? Like why that would make sense? We see it? So pick a number, x is 7. Okay, so then the next number would be 8, and the number after that would be 7 plus 2, 9. Right, so consecutive numbers differ by 1. So this is perfect. Question, some people want to write x plus 1 here as well, but then that would mean it's the same exact expression as the second number. You have to add 1 to it. So that being said, think about how this next one's different. 3 consecutive even numbers. Will, what did you put the first number as?
X.
Still, okay, good. Thoughts on the second number? You don't have to say it, someone else can say it if you want.
I put x times 2.
Okay. Let's try it.
I will say, I thought for the first one, what if you just had like 7 though, for x?
If x were 7?
Yeah.
Sure, but the thing is we don't know. They're just saying any 3 consecutive numbers, so we don't want to lock down to just the number 7. We're leaving it open such that x can be anything to start with.
And it'll be even always. So I thought the first one would have to be x times 2.
Oh, okay, so we're going back here. So first number we are defining as x. So we are defining the first number as the first even number.
Okay.
So as long as we do that, then whoever picks x has to follow our rule and call it 2, 4, 6, 8, etc.
Right.
So is the next consecutive... I'm just going to erase this for a second then, since you have that now. So Michael, pick any even number.
2.
And then, okay, don't pick 2 because pick a
10.
10. How do you get to 12?
Plus 2.
There you go.
Okay.
And then how do we get to 14?
Plus 4.
Yep, x plus 4. And then the last one, 3 consecutive odd numbers. Again, so we're defining our first odd number as x. What do you think, Brayden?
Your first number is going to be x,
Okay.
and then your second number is going to be 3.
So what if my first number is 13?
Oh, then it's even.
No, if I define x as 13. Oh, you're saying then the next one's even? Yeah. So how do I make sure the next one's 15?
Add 2.
Yeah. Again, add 2. This feels weird. This messes with people because the number 2 is even. But think about odd numbers differ by 2. So do even numbers. This plus 2, this plus 4 is just telling you what to add to the number to get the next number. It's all in how you define your first number. Someone can't pick an even number for x. They have to pick an odd number. Okay, that's overkill. Let's go down to the examples. So now the 4 steps are laid out for you. So I don't know if I wrote them as eloquently. Anyways, we have the first step down. That's all we've been doing. The next thing will be to write an equation. Sometimes when you write the equation, you need a formula. It might say to you, the sum of the angles of the triangle are, or when you add this plus this plus this. Well, angles of a triangle add to what? 180. That's a formula that you would need to remember, that the angles add up to 180 degrees. Or it might say something about area of a triangle. And you'll have to remember that the area of a triangle formula is,
Half times base times height.
yeah, 1/2 base times height. So when you go to write your equation, it won't always just be add up all the things that you just had. It might be that you need a formula. And so I promise I won't give you a formula. I won't give you one on a test that we haven't talked about already. So I think we'll talk about the triangle, maybe the angles. So let's read through, again, just this first question. Yes, there is an answer. Don't worry about the answer. Think about step 1, and you'll see me label the steps. It doesn't mean you have to. So I'll always write like step 1, and then I'll write my unknowns. Like in problem number 1, read through it, and then Lucas, tell me what the unknowns are.
Jeans.
Okay, cost.
T-shirt.
Yes. So cost of jeans.
Cost of t-shirt.
Cost of t-shirt. Which one of those, Taylor Ann, do you want to be our variable? The cost of the jeans or the cost of the t-shirt?
Wait, I can't find that. Which one are we doing?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's at the bottom of the next page.
Yeah, Billy and his clothes. I'll give you a second, sorry.
X would be jeans.
Okay, so if we call jeans X, then how would I represent t-shirt using X?
X minus 20.
Good. Now, don't panic. If you're someone that had written X here, then you should have X plus 20 here. Do you see that? If you had called the t-shirt X, then your jeans would be X plus 20. We're all going to come to the same conclusion, so it's okay. Okay, so now we're done with step 1. Step 2 says to write an equation. So I usually just say, okay, step 2, write an equation. Do I need a formula to write this equation, or is it pretty self-explanatory? $50 on both of those. So what do I do with those expressions? So they're saying it costs $50 for those two added together, right? So what would I do with those expressions?
70 equals 50.
Yeah, add them. So essentially step 2 is saying, or this problem is saying, the jeans plus the t-shirt is $50. I won't usually write that statement. I'll go right to saying jeans plus t-shirt is $50. So that's write the equation. We didn't need a formula, we just needed to know to add those expressions and set it to 50. 1 and 2 are the hardest. Step 3, that's just solve. Solve what you got. Yes?
I put the X minus 20 in parentheses. Is that wrong?
It's not wrong, nope. And in fact, if you were subtracting, then it would be beneficial because of how you have to distribute the minus. So step 3, just go ahead and solve for x. Any issues? X equals 35. And then this is, you know, a lot of people leave it here. They'll circle the 35. Think about the fact that whatever your job is, somebody came to you and asked you a question. You're not just going to walk back to them and say, X equals 35. You're going to report back. So step 4 is basically report back, but I think on the thing I say write a sentence in English. Write a sentence. So what I mean by that is take the 35. I'm just going to, I usually come back up here and go like, okay, that equals 35. And so that one is 15. And then I write a sentence. So I'm like, okay, step 4, what's the question asking me? It's asking me the cost of the t-shirt. So I say, hey, the cost of the t-shirt is $15. Just reporting on what I was asked.
Can you show it if you had done
Yes.
assigned X as the t-shirt, or t-shirt as the X?
Uh-huh. Is that how you did it?
Yeah.
Sure. So if I had said the t-shirt was X and the jeans were X plus 20, I would have said X plus 20 equals 50. So 2X plus 20 equals 50. 2X equals 30. X equals 15. And then I would have come again up here, plugged it in. I still report that the t-shirt is $15. Is that what they asked for the t-shirt? Yeah. So you're going to get the same thing either way, so long as your variable is defined. If you just started going here and got here, it would be hard because you're like, well, what does my X even represent?
Right, okay.
Yeah. Other questions? When I grade these, it's really easy for me because they're 4 points. I literally just look for like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you don't have to write the 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I just do that. All right, so yeah, try the next one. At least step 1. Step 2, we might need to talk about a formula. Caitlin, did you guys not have any match this weekend? Just the guys?
Did we only played this weekend?
Oh, you did. How'd it go?
That.
Okay, well, because the paper reported about the guys, and I was like, well, look at the girls. What?
Yeah, no. We played Grand Canyon though. We didn't play Montana.
Okay.
But we played there. It was really good.
You played there.
Yeah, we played at Missoula. And we had to use the scoreboard as we were the Grizz. It was really annoying.
Good. Hopefully, I'm seeing a lot of unknowns that are correct. If you're using width and length, go ahead and write the words out for me so it doesn't look like you're using a variable to define a variable. Like writing W equals X is confusing or anything like that. Oops. And some of you also wrote P equals 36 or perimeter. I just did what I said to not do. Loser. Okay. Some of you wrote this too. That's great. Not necessary, but I just saw it. So, Trey, do you want to tell me what you put for width and length? No, not. Do you want to? Can we define one of them as X? How about I define the X and then you tell me what the other one would be? Let's do that. So the width is our x. So how would you write the length is 2 more than 3 times that? 2 more. What operation is that? Or 3 times. What operation is that? Multiplication, addition. I'm asking multiple questions now.
2 plus 3x.
Yeah, either way. So because it's addition, we know that 2 more means add 2, and 3 times is multiplication. So if you wrote 2 plus 3x, that's okay. 3x plus 2 either way.
Yeah, but isn't that the length? Doesn't that answer itself?
Huh?
Because it asks, like, what is the length of the rectangle?
Oh, fair. 3x plus 2, the end. It's asking specifically centimeters, like is it 5, is it 7, is it 8? Not just what is the expression to represent the length. If the part about the perimeter, if they didn't give us the perimeter, we wouldn't be able to answer this question, and so we would just say the length is 3x plus 2. But since they gave us a value for the perimeter, we're able to find definitively what the length would be. Okay, so step 2, and this is when, do we need a formula? Yeah, kinda. I mean, perimeter of this room, how do you find it?
Length plus width.
Keep going. So the perimeter of this room, here's, let's just say this is the length, that's the width.
Times height, width, length.
Just add it all.
Yeah, add them all up. So perimeter of any object is just to add everything up. You can do that here, or maybe, you know, sometimes we just think of perimeter as twice the length plus twice the width for a rectangle, right? Because there's 2 lengths and there's 2 widths. Some people write it as P equals 2 times L plus W. Some people will draw a picture and then just add up all 4 sides. Whatever works for you, I don't care. So then now plug in everything you know to write your equation.
Is this how you do it?
Yep, equals that, 36. Since we know what the perimeter is, yeah. So I'm going to use, I'll use this one as well, so 36 equals 2 times x plus 2 times 3 is just 2. So just input those values. So, William, will you read me what you have for your equation?
36 equals 2 parentheses 3x plus 2 and parentheses plus 2x.
Good. Any iteration of that, you're going to get all step 3 when you solve it. You're all going to get the same x. So just let me check your x.
Is that?
Uh-huh. You'll get there. Ooh, x over there. Oh, you don't have to length is x. And then your width would be, that one's tricky because it's minus 2 and then that whole thing divided by 3. Also, you have like a fraction within an equation.
I get it.
I would build it the other way. If you see yourself with a fraction, build the other way. Okay, I think I saw x equals 4 on everyone's paper. Be careful, don't circle that. It's tempting, because anytime you solve an equation, you're like used to circling it. Remember, step 4 is like report back. And before I do step 4, I usually take what I found and plug it in up here, just so I have these when I'm ready to report. Is the question asking for length and width? Just the length. Okay, so then just report the length. So the length is, and then remember to use units. You don't want your architect coming to you and telling you, I'm going to build this 14 for you. 14 by 10, you're like, inches? Is it like a cat door, or is it a person? Anyways, just report back. Issues, questions, details? No? All right. The next 2 you should be able to do if you forget how to do step 1. Look back. We did consecutive odd and consecutive. So do 3 and 4, and then we'll come back together. Speaking of cats, there is a very disturbing documentary on Netflix.
Don't fuck with cats.
Yeah. I put it on for like 2 minutes, and I was just like, no.
That's such a
What's
funny
it about?
contrast.
I can't watch TVMA. Like, I just have to not.
That's such a funny contrast. My abnormal psych teacher brought that up, and she was
Oh, really?
a cop for a long time apparently, so she'll bring up a lot of dark stuff
Yeah.
that she talks about. Interesting. The gist of it, I didn't watch it, but she said basically a guy put a video online where he, like, I think, killed some kittens. I don't
There you
recall
go.
how.
We don't need details.
Yeah, but he killed some kittens, and then people online were so upset by that they like figured out like who he was just by little tiny details in the video. Think like Sherlock Holmes, like his boot was made here, and that's a U.S. only brand, and you know. all
And
that
then
was
he was a
crazy.
serial killer, right?
Yeah, he put up a video of killing a person later. And then they-
My friend found the actual video and it's crazy.
What the heck is wrong with the internet? The rest. I love cats. I'm sorry to bring that up, you guys. I'll think of a better story next time.
He was arrested, right?
That's the question.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's
good.
just go with yes.
Yeah. I
He's
was
not out there
when she
anymore.
says will, I just don't answer, so I know you'll just take it. You'll take
Throw
it
him a
over.
volcano.
Oh shoot.
I'm like totally sure.
I'm sticking to it. Day 1 you said William Will, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sticking to it. And let's see
For
what's
some
up.
reason, like most teachers, they call me Will. So I'm like 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So 3, you just do x
No, I love
plus
it.
x
I love
plus
it.
2 equals 24.
Like I'm ready to
And then you
answer.
solve.
I always give a chance.
So once you solve that,
You're
it'll come out
Well,
x
since
equals
the sum
11,
when they're
and then
both
x
odd,
plus 2 will then equal, you know, you plug it in and then.
X plus 2 plus
Yeah.
X plus 4 is
Yeah.
24.
Move on to like
Add them together.
odd numbers differ by how many, you remember? Yeah, so it would be x and x. Yeah, and then rather than call them both, call them like odd 1 and odd 2, just so we have some differentiating.
No, it's the sum.
Let's assume the first odd number
It's
is 7.
something plus something.
The next one should be 9, right? I know, it feels weird because you want think about 2 odd numbers like 7 and 9. They add to be. So they can add up.
Forgetting to write the, this is mixed in English.
Oh, okay. Things that were added were odd.
So then once you find 11, you plug in 11 for x plus 2.
Oh, so the first odd number will always be x. And then the second odd number is x plus 2. Yeah, and then you can write it. Yep.
13.
X. I don't think it's
Yeah, there's only 2 numbers, not 3. You just need 1, and then the next odd number will differ by 2, not 1, right? Because
Okay.
the first odd number is
I'm
23.
like, it just looks kind of.
If you add 1 to that, you only get to 24. You're trying to get to the next odd number. Yeah, like first odd integer is just x, and then the second one.
But you know X is 24, yeah?
No, we don't know x is 24. We know that the sum of the 2 integers is 24. So we know when we were, like, when we add these two integers, the sum is 24. You see that? What? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're so close, yep.
I like
You don't really need to do it for that.
It's so much, yeah.
Just like two odd numbers.
Actually, it's just more work.
It's only like 4 or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far you got. I think some of you finished it, so I'm just catching up with you. What are the numbers? The numbers are 11 and
We're
13.
gonna get there.
Right? So just remember 4-point problem, right? So if you give me this, that's a 1 out of 4. Give me it all the algebra. If you didn't get that, I'll come around. Otherwise, move on to the next one.
You just solved.
Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Yeah, I screwed up.
Yep.
I'm never gonna recognize that last part.
Oh, really?
No.
Write a sentence? On the test, I'll write at the top, I'll write the 4 problems.
No, I meant like finding the like 13, like plugging it back in.
Yeah, I
keep
know.
forgetting to
Because you
do
keep
that.
circling x equals.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What are we doing? Just consecutive. So the first one is, give me a number. 1. The next one has to be 2, right? Well, but if I go from 1 to 2, what do I add on? Not 2.
Not even.
+1, +2.
Yeah.
Not +2, +4. Well.
So in this case, these numbers are just consecutive. So we don't need to add 2 on, we just need to add 1 on. So look, for just consecutive numbers, look what we're doing. Same idea. Okay. 3 first. Make sure you have step 1 right. If you had x plus 2 or x plus 4, let me explain why it's not. What's that?
Do you have 3x? Do you use x plus x?
Yeah, because what I know that if I were to add all 3 locker numbers is 384, and so then my equation would be first locker plus second locker plus third locker. Solving. So 127 is your x value, yes? Don't circle it, Lucas. Yeah, so 127, 128. And then they want all of the locker numbers. The locker numbers are, this is my favorite part. Locker. Boom. I didn't see any issues, so I sped that one up a little bit. Yep. Just keep going until you get stuck. You can work with each other or whatever. it's great.
Okay,
I would
but that's
take it.
okay. But you take the one.
Yeah, the locker number back.
Alright.
It is. Oh yeah, so that's one where you do need a formula questions. So what we talked about was that angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Mm-hmm. So it has to be x minus 16.
Yeah, I
Oh,
got
you
that
fixed
once
it?
I got here.
Okay.
Then I realized, yeah.
Perfect.
The X ones go first.
If it
If
says
it's subtraction.
less than, yes. Unless it says like the x is less than the 40 or something, but.
63 pounds.
I got 79 minus 16.
Okay. I just divided on 148 divided by 2, which is 79. You just divided wrong, but wasn't there? You're golden.
Minus 16 instead of 16 minus
So it'd be 58.
Well, 74 and 58, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, so the sum that just means if you add these two expressions, it should equal that. So, well, all you just said Tennessee equals 132. We want to say Tennessee plus the Stanford. You just divided. You did the division wrong. You said 2 into 14 goes 2 times. The angles, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, gotta keep going.
Angles of the triangle. 74, and then you'll use that to figure out Stanford.
What's the total measurement of the 30? 180.
Circle the same one. Is this fine instead of a sentence? Because
First angle. Yeah, because you like you separated it from step 1, so that's fine, and you have your degrees. Yep.
okay, thank you.
Other way around. So it says 3 less. That's your Q. That is whatever happens minus 3. Okay. So all this is equation of fractions. This is pure fractions. Just like last Thursday. Yep. Yep. Did that not divide us? So you had said like you basically this one plus this one. Yep. Yeah. And then the other one is the second angle.
Did you get this from the angles?
51 more addition.
I don't know.
Your questions. Good. I would clear fractions right from here, just like we did on Thursday, to avoid like where you're at. For this one? Let's see, he has
Adding 20.
x plus x plus,
I was doing 3 that was 3 days.
3 less than twice the
One
first.
day.
Oh, so it's less fractions.
This shows this one that was just on like overhead.
33, good, and then you're, yeah, yeah.
If we help you off.
What do I do with this fraction?
We have fractions, it's an equation, just like you did on Thursday.
So times by 5?
Yep, times every term by 5. So this would mean 4/5 more than x, but 4/5 as 1 would be 4/5 times x. Yeah, sure. And then you can just call it 4x over 5 when you make your equation. And then I would clear fractions to solve that equation.
I have a question.
So you want to multiply everything by 5. This by 5, that by 5, that by 5, and this by 5. Yep, with the x. And the idea here is this x just cancels. This one's on the numerator, one's on the denominator.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay. And then everything else just follows. Now you 1, 2. Can someone just tell me what were the angle measures? 33.
Right?
33, 84, 63.
Thanks.
I see 16.
Okay.
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh, I was missing X.
You know what X is. You just said
No, but I didn't pay attention about the X after
What?
the fact of full fifths.
Oh, so you didn't have.
I don't think you've done anything with this one.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
great.
15.
If you add all those three?
Oh, they do
No,
consider
before
Yeah.
Because this is 5x, 5x. That's all.
So the third
This
one
is
says
X on top.
4 fifths as long. If I
And
said
then it'd be 15
twice as long, we would do
This is
2
price so far,
times.
then?
4 fifths as long would be 4 fifths
30
times.
actually is 140.
So this should read 4 fifths times x.
Buddy, what are you doing? Okay.
Either one. I wrote it as 4 fifths x, so I was able to call it 4x over 5.
You're literally just taking all of this shit and this shit and multiplying it by 5. Literally every single term. So it's gonna be 5x
Oh, okay, I see what I did.
plus 5x plus 15 plus this turns into 4.
Oh, yeah.
So those 5s,
Yeah,
doesn't that
both
just leave me 4x?
140 or no, 155. Multiply every term by x or 5.
This is my least favorite math problem.
What'd you do for your
Did you do
things on the
4x?
wire?
And then you cancel out the cancel on that one.
10, 13,
Yeah.
8.
I fixed that.
So you got
What?
this part where it's
Everything's fine, so it's the last
455
problem.
equals 14x.
Oh my god.
No, I'm
No.
not doing it. I didn't change the 20 to a 4.
Yeah, I
I'm
got
already
that.
doing it.
Did you close it?
Yeah, but I didn't change my 20 to a 4, so
I think that was like
everything
one
after this
that
point
you
just
did.
changed.
Yeah, that's right. Little clarifying
I
statement.
know.
Did you get there?
Yeah.
What did you get?
What's wrong?
I don't.
Does it break down to 50x
What
plus
happened?
19 at some point? Or
No, because I had
Wait,
just
what?
4, so
What'd you
I
do for the
minus
third?
9.
Yeah, you
That's
did.
because I just copied it. 50x plus 19.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you didn't look at
right?
that, did you?
It's like
Do-do-do.
right? Wow. Wow. Okay.
like for these guys, like I should do. I'm sticking with it. I'm saying that's right again.
Oh my god.
Okay. So we don't want a
You got
word
some
problem
water.
on the test that also has fractions?
Reborn.
Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah.
No, I'm just hearing, I'm just hearing like, everything was fine and then this part number is like, oh, it's like so mad.
No, you're good, you're good.
I think it was so funny because my
got
dad
14
calls
X.
it Mr. Peanut dies.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you just like the concept, like do a question that has an equation with fractions, and then just do a question that's like an application without fractions. And to not
I think they tried to get that one. The baby
Oh,
yoga
okay.
class,
That's where
they
I
tried to do
screwed up.
like the same for the.
Yeah.
They just wanted Mr. Peanut turn into.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then just make sure all of these, like, that you're wrapping up, like that, or, you know, giving me some sort of explanation of what you just found.
Oh yeah, and it's just like we. And then like I'll look at the window in despair.
He says 10 meters, 13 meters, 10 meters, right? Stupid. I'm getting wrong. I won't read them right.
What was that one? 8?
Yeah.
How long is each piece?
It's not there. I just don't want to learn.
All right, let's back it up. I just want to make sure that you guys gave me an explanation of what you found and also that you used the symbol for degrees. So just check back if you didn't put them in there. And then for number 7, again, make sure that you told me what you found. You'd hate to do all that work and then circle x equals 10. And that you used meters. And if you didn't get here, then talk to me, but I feel like I've been catching people as things go awry.